Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone, wherever you are attending from. Welcome to the 133rd edition of ClariTea Chat. Today we have with us Vishy, Viswanand, but everyone calls him Vishy. He's the former CEO and Deputy MD of Max Life Insurance, and currently the head of CRM at Damak Properties in luxury real estate based in Dubai. Hey, Vishy, welcome to this session. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers. Glad to be here with all of you.
Thanks, Vishy, for agreeing to join us. So let's introduce Vishy. He was born in Chennai and he's a BITS Pilani alumnus. He joined the portable computing, when it was in its infancy. He excelled in banking and became one of the first relationship managers. He led Max Life's insurance growth for 23 years and recently transitioned to Damak Properties. So he's an accomplished leader known for being innovative, all-round cross-functional expertise. He developed over 7 different roles at Max Life. Building talent internally and nurturing technology business collaboration. So his leadership philosophy is success comes from taking those risky leaps of faith, keep learning, embrace diversity within, use technology for growth, nurture talent, and promote collaboration. So we'll, as usual, cover his life story, but our focus will be on these themes. Positive dissatisfaction. He kept changing roles and accumulated a diversity of experiences. So what was going inside him? That's what is positive dissatisfaction. Using technology to drive scalability. When he was the CEO, he leveraged technology to the full. So we'll talk about it. Product management, very interesting to know that he used the software product management for developing insurance products. That will be really interesting. And then e-commerce success. Max Life leads in e-commerce, and he built that vertical. And managing and nurturing in-house talent. So just today morning, I played Vishy. I wanted to keep it like a news for you. I played tennis with one of your admirers. His name is Gaurav Rawat. So we live in the same complex, and he was he was all gaga about that. Max Life is the best employer he has ever seen across himself and his friends. So yeah, and so we will hear the story behind that experience. So his journey has been driven by risk-taking, innovation, strategic impact creation, and a commitment to continuous learning. So we'll end the chat with a rapid-fire round to bring out the personal side of Vishy, and then a reverse question to me. So all of you are also welcome to send your rapid fires in between or towards the end. So Vishy, before we start talking of serious things, let's get some energy going up. Please share a very interesting, humorous incident from your professional life.
Sure, that's interesting. Let me try to zoom in on IT, and I've had the pleasure of supervising recruiting and supervising two CIOs, CDOs, IT digital. So this was sometime back that I read in a McKinsey article that Google practices recruitment through reverse interview, as in getting the team to interview the candidate before the final stage of offer letter. So I said that was interesting. Let's try it out. And Bakra kahan mila? IT head. I said, okay, let me try. And the gentleman I'm talking about. But we got this practice going. And after that, I asked the team saying, okay, how do you find this person? And I could see that they were giving very, very, I would say, politically correct commentary, because they knew that obviously this gentleman has been through half a dozen interviews, and now if they say no, it'll look like rejecting. So they said all good things. So I said, okay, Google practice is okay, but doesn't seem to really get me the meat that I want. I'm not hearing negative dissatisfiers. I wish I was there. I wish I was there to observe what was being asked and what was being said and how. So my second stint of recruiting IT head, I said, let me try something new. After all the interviews are over, Gentleman was supposed to join on a Monday, and we were having a team party, and this was IT team party in a some banquet hall in Gurgaon, and this was late in the evening on a Saturday. He said, "Okay, why don't you join us on for the at the dance floor after dinner?" Okay, so I don't want to make it formal. I want to see you on the dance floor and how you'll engage with your future team. So later on, I got to hear that the gentleman even now talks about it, saying, "Wow, this was the toughest interview I've ever had," because, you cannot be prepared for this. Even
Yeah, yeah,
ChatGPT
yeah,
won't help
absolutely.
you yet. So this was dance floor observation. What I was observing was, is the style top down or bottom up? Is the person willing to accept and build on others' ideas of dancing, or is this gentleman going to dictate what is going to be, which numbers you dance and how you dance and so on? So dictatorial versus democratic. And typically in dance, your body, your mind, everything is in action, right? So are you shining the light on others, or are you actually happy shining the light on you? So all this
Awesome.
came out, and I'm very happy that this was an interesting process. I wouldn't advocate it for all, but it's very interesting because it's almost like working with a person and doing things when nobody is watching, right? And your natural self comes out. And I'm glad that even now the gentleman is doing very well in the company. In my erstwhile employer, he's got two promotions since then,
Oh,
and
wow.
taken on multiple roles. So I guess this people skills in the head of IT is so important and usually undervalued. People are hired for skills rather than the attitude of developing and grooming leadership talent. And I guess that can come out in the dance floor.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And an informal setting really brings it out. I think it happened with me also when I joined GE. I was on my notice period. I hadn't told people where I'm going, and then this guy, our head, the overall the Apex CIO head, they were doing an offsite for all the business CIOs, like me and my counterparts, and he said, "Why don't you just fly down?" I said, "How are you going to manage? I mean, I've not yet joined. I have to travel from Pune to Bangalore and all of that." And I said, "Don't worry, we'll manage." And then that was like my trial by fire, interviewed over an offsite by my peers. And now that you're talking about this incident, I'm realizing, oh my god, that wasn't for fun, that was like really an interview.
Could have gone anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Thankfully, they went on a trek and all that, and I have been trekking, so it was like pretty, I would say, yeah, one of the guys, despite my bulk, who was like doing the path finding and all that. So we were like, we were asked to find the path through some hidden symbols and all of that, and we were given a map and all. So I was one of the pathfinders, so that went well.
Nice.
But very interesting, Vishy. I think, yeah, if you want to see the real person, put him in a very natural situation and assess. Yeah, very, very, very important. So, guys, I mean, that was the beginning, and we'll get to know Vishy more as we go through. Um so now while the comments have started flowing in, and we don't feel all alone anymore, let me still acknowledge our audience. So we have CXOs, founders, IT managers, and seasoned technology industry leaders in our audience. All of us know that technology is necessary, but not sufficient to drive business performance. The guests on ClariTea Chat, like Vishy, they have built the bridge between the necessary and sufficient with their art of managing technologies and technology folks. ClariTea Chat builds that bridge between their learnings and all of you who are trying to make a powerful impact with technology. So, thank you all for joining us for the last 132 episodes and encouraging us with your interactions and questions, and building this, very good community of people who are looking at solving that problem that we speak about in the initial video. So we have, let's see who all have joined us. But may I request all our audience to share your name and where you're joining from in the comment box of LinkedIn or YouTube, wherever you are. So yeah, we have the first comment from Anil Sharma. Hey, Vishy, you rock always. So then we have Karthik from Bangalore. We have Amarinder from Nama Bengaluru, he's a regular. I can say that he's a regular on ClariTea Chat as an audience. Hey, thanks Amarinder for joining us. We have our colleague Sumit religiously welcoming everybody. We have Shailesh Pandit, and there are some questions. And so Shailesh Pandit is from Nasik. We have Hania from Dubai. Hey, hi Hania. Oh yeah, the comments have started flowing. We have Dr. Amarinder Kumar from Mumbai. Welcome, Dr. Amarinder. We have Sayyid MD Jaman Hassan Rizvi from Dubai. And we have Jihad Kali from Dubai. Okay, so guys, keep it coming. But let's move on to our conversation with Vishy. So Vishy, give us an overview of your education, career, the company's roles, and just one highlight of each.
Sure, I'll try to keep it short.
Yeah.
So I'm a Malayali married to a Marwadi. My wife is a menopause coach, and she works with CXO leaders in their professional growth. We have one son. He's pursuing his MBA in the University of Chicago Booth School of Business. I've had a very stable childhood, Jagdish. I can't think of any more stability because both my parents were government employees. First job, last job, 38 years, same job, and I went to the same school all 18 years. I lived in the same home for 18 years. My school was one end of the road from my home, 1 kilometer. So that used to be my walk. I probably know every pebble and every blade of grass there. So it was complete stability. And then suddenly after school, BITS Pilani happened. And so did a bunch of lifelong friends, my batchmates from BITS Pilani. We still have our reunions. And, when someone starts to post anything on the WhatsApp group, there's a fire, it's like a volcano exploding and, everyone wants to get together and meet together. Work, I began my career actually with a startup. Even before the term startup was coined, I guess this is 33 years ago, and I joined this company because I found technology, actually computers, very interesting. And imagine this was the time when Infosys and others were just about forming up, and this was the time when people were not buying computers. Somebody in the B2C market, it's only B2B, and this was a company trying to sell computers, and I said, wow, concept selling of a computer, because nobody was buying it. And this was a portable computer. It is called compact PC. It was in a laptop. Actually, sorry, it was in a briefcase, because it was a CPU and a keyboard fused together. And we had to sell this briefcase, a nice looking leather briefcase, no screen. You had to connect it to any available screen, like a TV screen, to operate it. So that was the portable computer. And a smart, it's a phone which is not smart. Okay, it's a smart, non-smart phone, but it's actually a handheld computer based on a UK-based company's organizer phone, organizer device. This was meant to be a handheld computer, right? There were no SIM cards, there was no GSM, there was no Wi-Fi, and it was running off pencil batteries. But how to make this portable computer into a cash register, into a CNC machine connector, into a mobile tracker for a Salesforce. So those are the kind of use cases, and it seemed like very interesting concept selling. But of course, after 1 year, I realized that it's an idea which is too ahead of its time. You need an ecosystem. You don't have connectivity. You don't have apps. You don't have network. So this is going nowhere. I said, great idea, but give it 10 years before it finds its spot. So I left the company and I joined a very reliable foreign bank, 135-year-old bank, ANZ Greenlace, and I stayed down there for 10 years. I was the first batch of relationship managers. So for those of you who didn't know, that bank had introduced relationship managers with something called Captain Greenlace Club. You had to qualify for that club, and that's when wealth management at its very, very early stages began through there. And we went through 3 weeks of training on how to be a relationship manager. I found that very interesting, that this bank was investing big monies in handling the employees who handle the customers. So, the way to customer retention and customer satisfaction is through employee retention and employee satisfaction. So
Awesome.
very, very subliminally, I'm talking about 29 years, 30 years ago, this bank had realized it, and uh, that's why we are who we are. I just had lunch in Dubai with a couple of my ex-colleagues 30 years back. We're meeting after 3 decades, and it's like nothing has passed. And when I look at them, when I look at us, that all that early investment in training and development has paid rich dividends. Um, so that was banking, and then when I left the bank, it was as a cluster manager in retail banking in Delhi. Then I joined this budding startup company in a new sector which was opened up in India in the year 2000, uh, and the company was Max New York Life. Began working in this startup because the management team of the bank had actually shifted to form the management team of this startup. I said, okay, I don't know this sector too much. It sounds interesting and it sounds challenging to break the behemoth, the iron clasp that the life insurance corporation had on the Indian population. And I said, why can't we introduce some interesting competition and privatize that sector as well? Because I've seen the privatization of banking and what it did to consumers. Why can't the same happen in life insurance? So that was an interesting challenge. So began there, started with, did many roles over the next 23 years, from starting with presenting to the board in my first year to in my 23rd year, I was sitting on the board of that company as well as the deputy managing director. So that was an interesting experience, many roles. You can imagine I was a can opener for the first 10 years, opening the can of agency, opening the can of direct sales, opening the can of bank assurance, all open the cans and, make sure that things stick on and hold up and scale up. And then I got into the corporate side of the world, which is product management, customer retention, persistency, and then the chief operating officer's role of handling IT operations and the back end of the function. And finally, as the deputy managing director, responsible for revenue generation and profitability. So that was an interesting journey of 23 years. And now here I am. I've just completed, Jagdish, 6 months in
Oh, wow.
181 days to the day in my new company, new country, new sector in Damac Properties in Dubai. So that's
Awesome.
that's uh, that's life in a nutshell so far.
Yeah, no, hey, thanks, Vishy. Very interesting. Like, I think one startup to another startup experience, and then in between, I need a completely new role of a relationship manager. So awesome. And I think I really like what you said as that, that you're investing in employees to make your customers happy and loyal, right? And I think that is something that we will cover towards the later part of the chat. So Vishy, your career transitioned across diverse roles. So were you never scared to come out of your comfort zones? I mean, uh, opening all those cans and then going back to going to the background and managing operations and technology and all. So, tell our audience about your philosophy of positive dissatisfaction, which led you from one role to the other, and just talk us about how the role you're playing and then what happened that made you move to the next role and so on, especially with your max life part.
Yeah. So when I look back, I see a clear pattern actually. One is very stable schooling and childhood of 18 years, and then bang came Bits Pilani, massive change, south to the north, and away from home, and living a hostel life suddenly all of a sudden. And at an age of 18, you're still raw. Second was very stable 10 years in a foreign bank, a nice comfort zone. And then came life insurance startup, completely out of the blue. That began with a lunch conversation actually. And the third was, a very stable 23 years in Max Life, complete comfort zone. I'd seen this, the business from all sides. And then comes real estate in Dubai for a major change, right? So I feel that once my learning starts to slow down, and I get into this comfort zone, something happens, something goes on inside, maybe to spark a new S curve, a new learning curve. In fact, Even in the bank, in the bank that I worked with for 10 years, I did 5 different roles in 4 different cities. We relocated every 2-3 years. In life insurance, I did 7 different roles in those 23 years. Very different. It's almost like questioning your own beliefs. And what I really loved was one, going and starting an agency. Suddenly, what I realized is, in a bank you're driving tasks. In an agency, you drive relationships, and the tasks get done. Right? In a bank, you don't care much about the relationships really. You just drive the tasks. It's an inbound model, right? Customers come in, you open the shutter, customers come in. It depends on your location and your brand and your product. In insurance, none of them matters. Your location doesn't matter. Your brand doesn't matter actually. You open the shutters and nobody comes in. So you have to go out. So a very, very different ball game in starting up agency. I have deep relationships even now with people who I work with and whom we've learned together on how to sell life insurance in a rather hostile environment in those days. And then we had a conversation, I remember, with my CEO, and we were looking at productivity of our agents. And we said, the agents' productivity is low because they don't get a salary. So it becomes tough for them to stick on and persevere through those failures. You have to see 20 failures to get your first sale. And thereafter, even if you're experienced, you'll get 4 rejections for 1 sale. So how will you rejuvenate yourself and build that perseverance and grit? So maybe a salary will help. Okay. When I suggested that, they said, very good, please do a salaried pilot. So I said, okay. Lesson learned, be careful of what you say. It's not a ClariTea Chat show. What you say will come back to you. So I started the direct sales team of that company and began as an experiment and really scaled up. We had nearly 3,000 employees selling life insurance, supported by 2,800 telecallers who had lead generation. So big machine driving all that and testing some of, how do we acquire customers and retain them. Then as this went on, I was looking at the league tables, and one day in one of the January strategy board meetings, we had a Jan to December year, thanks to New York Live then. And in a boardroom conversation again, I happened to mention that I think we are losing rank in market share because of New York Life's fixation of being an agency-driven company and avoiding banks, not selling our products through banks, because ultimately bank assurance is a negative spiral. That's their belief, and they will suck out profits, or you'll be left with 11. So I said, okay, now let's test it out, because others are doing it, and every quarter we are coming down 1 number in rank. So they said, okay, very good. Then I got a call soon enough from the CEO saying, Vishy, leave what you're doing and start bank assurance. I said, okay, fantastic idea, but where's the bank? There are only about 100 odd large banks in India, and all of them have tied up with their own partners, and only one bank can tie up with one life insurance company. It was a monogamous relationship then, not open architecture. So I said, where do I find the banks? They said, no problem. You've been a banker for 10 years. Find your bank. I said, great. So I took a month to think. And then when the pressure became irresistible, I had to succumb. I said, okay, chalo, let me take the risk. I even had a conversation with my boss and my super boss the CEO saying, is there a safety net? They looked at me and said, yes. When I looked into their eyes, I knew nothing existed, but had to go with it. It's good to ask. And so then there began the journey of bank assurance from 0% share of top line. It went up to, as I left the company, 58%, close to 60% of revenues coming from bank assurance. And the private sector in India today has 50% of sales coming in from bank assurance. So interesting to see those first 10 years of sales, building channels and getting them to produce and contribute to the top line and bottom line. Then in bank assurance, the biggest issue was, sales is happening, but customers are not sticky, right? The issues of mis-selling, misunderstanding, misbuying, customers not knowing what they bought and then not paying the renewal premiums and then affecting the P&L of the insurer. So I was a big critic. I was also a big culprit because bank assurance was under me. And they said, okay, very good, Vishy. I got an email from my from my CEO saying, you are appointed the champion of customer retention and persistency. I said, ye to chor ke haath mein chabi de diya. Those of you, if you don't understand Hindi, it just means, you're the thief. So you're given the key to the safe deposit. You know the card. from thief to security guard. So I said, okay, very good learning it was. I learned all my cross-functional team, CFT, team management skills there by failing, and learning what works. So that was an interesting experience. And then moved on to sales always has an issue of products, right? The biggest, when sales doesn't happen, what do you blame? The product. I wish the product was like this. I wish the product was like that. I wish the product could give more value to the customer, more value to the agent and commissions. What have we created? Look at competition. So I again was a vehement uh, advocate for product rejuvenation and refresh. So then guess what happened again? I didn't learn from the earlier experiences. They said, fine, give up what you're doing and head our products division. So there I came from heading 2,500 employees to 20 people. And they were all actuaries who are more educated than me. And obviously, they are not used to taking any orders or listening to anyone. So that was a very interesting experience of product management. Maybe those 4 years of products, I learned more than anything else in those 23 years. But because it was in the nerve center, in the brain of the company. You could connect the dots. And at that time, once you're in products, what do? You become friends with sales guys. Of course, I was a sales guy anyway in the past. So the products and sales had interlocked. So who do you blame? IT and operations. They're slow, too slow. We got the product idea. Why are you taking 3 months to launch a product? And then after 6 months, I realized that there are breakages in the product development. What about day two, day three? Who is controlling it? So I was obviously again trying. And then they said, okay, very good. Then you give up products that's running well now. And you head our IT and operations, become our COO. So that began my COO journey. And that was interesting. So after that, I stopped complaining. I learned over these 2 decades, and then I guess some changes happened, and I was promoted to the deputy managing director of the company, including being in the board of the company. Um, that was an interesting last 5 years experience. But again, in those after those 5 years, I realized 5 years, in life insurance is so sales driven, month end driven, 60 month ends in 5 years. And when it came to contract renewal, it was like another 60 month ends. I said 120 month ends. I will go mad. And had bit part ways with my company with long notice given, and still have lots of good friends right from the promoter to the management team to my agent advisors. It's like leaving a family and graduating out. So here I am in a new country, in a new company, in a new sector, and hope to continue this learning.
Oh, awesome, awesome, awesome. So I think there's a term we have for I have for this. In fact, I developed it with my good friend. So it's called "Jo bolega wo kundi kholega."
Very well said.
So, so to those people who don't understand Hindi, it's basically says that whoever calls out, is the guy who will open the door. So you have like five people sitting in the room, and then the doorbell rings. Now there's one guy who will get uncomfortable that why is like nobody is stirring up, okay, and they'll say, hey, somebody's ringing the bell, and all those four of them will tell him, why don't you open the door? So it's like everybody was observing the same thing, but it was you who was getting uncomfortable with that, and that's what led you to taking those roles. But I think what a term came to my mind as you were speaking, and that was as soon as you get into a comfort zone, you become uncomfortable. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, and no, and a very, very, very interesting story. Very interesting, I would say, progress, Vishy. So, Vishy, we need to go a little faster. I have like lots to cover, and I'm being greedy here. We are at the halfway mark at 5:30. So let's come to the next question. Again, this is like a very much awaited question. This is like the technology has been a key enabler for you. So share your experiences, especially like your COO and IT experience, on how you effectively use technology to drive scale as well as results across your roles. And I think very importantly, as a business leader, how did you manage your relationship with technology guys like your CIOs? So what you're looking for is like a view from the other side, right? So, and what I'm looking for here is that, we have lots of business leaders like CXOs, EDs, and all who watch this show. So tell them that how they need to deal with technology folks, for the strategic impact. Sorry, that's like a very long question, but
So I guess there is always, as they say, a science and an art of managing anything, and technology is no exception. While I can't comment too much on the science aspect of it, I have experienced what art works and probably what doesn't. I'll share more of that with you.
yeah,
One was ultimately, often it is believed that IT is tech, and it's all there is very little of human element. But the IT team and the people developing their tech, their interpersonal interlocks are so important between the head of the IT, the direct teams, and similarly the entire IT team. They are in usually the companies that I've seen, complex industries. They are the most hardworking team. When everyone is sleeping, they are the ones who are on. When things go wrong, they are the ones who get the lights back on. On weekends, when you are having a lazy brunch, they are the ones who are putting the release, because they don't want to insert the release when business is on. So their interpersonal relationships, their personality development, their just ways of working together is so important. I think that is currently there is low focus. So I was focusing a lot on that. Number one, getting to know people one to one and creating those formal and informal networks within. Number two was interdepartmental. IT often the CIO's biggest problem is dealing with three people. The first is the CFO. CFO can never be satisfied, right? Because it costs us so much. What the hell you mean? Capex, OPEX, ultimately it's hitting me. Your depreciation is too high. What are you doing about IT costs? Look at our costs, benchmark with competition. We are spending too much. So that pressure will always be there. So how do you bring in the CFO into the game and have those discussions not in the presence of CEO and the management team, but one to one? And understand what the IT head has to say and do, and what the CFO is tasked to do. So I think actually having these tripartite meetings and even interpersonal alignments, or IPA meetings as we used to call them, uh, is very important. Monthly get-togethers one to one with the CFO. Secondly, the CMO, because CMO also has various views, right, on what is good spend, what is bad spend, what is marketing, what is brand, who's running eCommerce, me versus you, all of that. So who will do what, very important to define. And thirdly, the CEO himself or herself with the CIO to understand the business strategy and align IT to business strategy, which means what? The head of IT should ensure always that three constituencies are taken care of. And I find specialists sometimes in one or two and ignoring the third, for example. So first is customer experience and doing things for the customer through tech, which is faster, more accurate, basically timeliness and speed, better quality, cost will come down, and customer experience, you'll get a thumbs up. Second is employee experience. I find some IT heads doing it, some forced to do it, some not even, some having a blind spot on it. But if employees are not tech savvy and tech enabled, and their effort is not reduced through technology, you can't expect the company to be digitalized. And thirdly, the shareholders' interest, which means profitability. So always bear that in mind. Don't lose out. Otherwise, you'll make your enemies within, starting led by the CFO. So how do you ensure that your margins and top line alignment is done properly, and your IT costs are driving margins and top line at the same time? It is not either or. So these three experience, the shareholder experience, the customer experience, and employee experience, very important. And that I would call is the strategic focus that CIOs sometimes miss or are distracted, and they become heavily, imbalanced on, or overweight on any one of the three, and lose out on the others. Uh, the second is speed. the need for speed is far more these days than ever. So moving from waterfall to agile, uh, using tech to solve problems and opportunities is very, very important. We've seen when I was CEO, we even had to do some stuff like creating scrum teams, two in a box, hire agile coaches from outside, uh, change our facilities so that we're not operating in hot desks, but actually we have dining table seating to allow scrum teams to sit and work and solve problems together in sprints of 2 weeks each, and get the management there, management team there in the daily huddles once in a while, and every 15 days to come and see what they've produced. That keeps the momentum really going, and problems remain there and solutions remain there, doesn't come up to the top and distract management, or even worse, decisions taken by wrong people at the top, not knowing the details below. So I think that's been a very interesting experience, and there the CIO and the COO can really help. In fact, in my early years in Max Life, I remember some folks from New York Life, I don't want to take names, but came and told me in a one-to-one conversation, Vishy, if you want to innovate, why did you join life insurance? This business has been going on for 200 years before you, and it'll go on for another 200 years after you. Don't try to change. So this is the
Ah.
conversation. Okay, and that was very interesting. And secondly, another I would say credo, which is life insurance is always sold, Vishy. It is never bought. So don't try to do anything. You need your agents, you need a field presence, you have to go and sell. It's an outbound sales. So, okay. And guess what? Today, the company that I left has 26% of its new customers acquired through purchasing insurance. No agent has sold to them, no broker has approached them, no bank has sold them. And they have come to our website, or they've gone to an online site or an online aggregator broker and purchased. So things can change. And I think
Yeah,
technology really can drive that change.
no, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Again, as we were talking earlier. So let me quickly wrap up the takeaways here. So I think, as you rightly said, there's the art of managing technology. The skills and technical part is like available to everybody. But I think success is when you learn the art. So some elements of it. One is the interpersonal interlocks of IT teams. They're very important. We have to understand they are most hardworking. They work when everyone is asleep. So we need to focus on their development, create formal and informal networks. The three critical CIO interfaces, which is with CFO, CMO, and CEO. The strategic focus, and I would call it as a balance between the three areas, which is customer experience, employee experience, and shareholders interest, which is profitability. The need for speed, very interesting to know that you not only moved from waterfall to agile, but you also created agile workspaces, hired agile coaches, involved senior management into those huddles and sprint showcases and all of that. And I think the end result of it is visible. You changed paradigms. You made changes where people said it's a age old industry and you can't make changes, and you still made changes. And insurance is sold, not bought. And today 26% of your customers buy insurance. So very, very interesting, and I think this will be a big takeaway from this session, Vishy. So Vishy, it was very interesting to know that we talk about 17% success rate of technology initiatives, and while talking to you, you said that what, insurance is worse. It's only 10%. But then you achieved industry beating or industry leading success rates in your insurance products. And very interesting that you brought in actually some lateral concepts from software development. So talk to us about the transformation in the product management aspect when you were handling that. How did
Yeah,
you
this
go
is
about it?
probably replicable across sectors, and that's why maybe I'll share it with you and all of us here. Uh, in life insurance, actually, the regulator sent us a note one day. This is many years ago, saying that only 10% of the products that are launched by insurance companies as a whole, 24 life insurance companies in India launching on an average 15 products in a year each. Only 10% of them achieved the successful trajectory that you had shared with the regulator while filing the product over a 5-year term. They just did a look back. Very simple study. So I came back running on it and said, what's our number? And the number in our company was close to 20%. 20% had achieved the trajectory of top line and bottom line, sales and margins, right, of the products that were launched. Okay, we should be happy. Then I kept wondering, okay, that means 80% of our effort is waste effort, right? We just wasted not just the effort of the products team, which is 50 human beings, but more importantly, IT team, operations team, 70,000 agent advisors, 100,000 banker staff and brokers. So what have we done in training them, in sending the material out, retraining them, refresher training? For what? It didn't work. So it was like a design failure. So we said, let's do 3 things. First one was the sources of ideation. We don't just jump with some good idea and run. And I realized that 90% of the ideas were replica copy from the competition. You take competitions, this idea, you make your product. Okay, which has A from here, B from there, C from here. So this is very stupid. What are we doing? It's a very incestuous kind of product development in the sector. Nobody is creating anything new. So we said we will have these 8 sources of ideation from agent advisors, from customer focus groups, from wholesale bankers, from desktop research internationally, from competition, of course, from actuarial. How can you use mathematics? Because what is insurance product? It's a cash flow series. So how can you innovate in an Excel? Innovate on cash flows and create actuarially insightful products, which are good value for the customer and the seller as well as the company. And lastly, the voice of the frontline supervisor. Nobody wants to hear his or her voice. They are only told to do. Nobody's heard what they say. Okay, so hear that as well. So we had these 8 sources of ideation. It's still working in the company. I think now they've gone to 10 sources of ideation, so that we're able to capture more. And that company, when I took on in 2010, the products function, it was a broken function. It was identified by consultants, by McKinsey's and others, as an area of improvement for the company compared to competitors, peer group. Today, as I see it, it is a leading strength for the company. Right? It is people join the company because the products are good. The products are easy to sell. Aapka maal bechne mein maza aata hai. This is what we hear. Right? So that is one, the power of structured ideation sources. The second, and this can happen in any sector, right? Second is, in product development, what is very important is listening everyone's voice and coming to an agreement and then going ahead and executing. So this is the mantra of a CFT, right? So we created 7 success mantras of a successful cross-functional team, right? Which is creating a project charter. Very simple. But what is in scope? What is out of scope? What is the sign of success? Write it down even before you begin the project. Who are the team members? Who are the interdependencies? All the interlocks. Put it down. So 1. Second was get the right people in the bus. As far as product development is concerned, including the intersections. Third was you have a project plan. Inspect what you expect. Otherwise, things will go awry and slowly ideas dissipate over time. Fourthly, it was communication with clarity. So communicate all the time. Formal, informal, WhatsApp, emails, intersection meetings, everything. And one very important but not very well pronounced issue in cross-functional team is who takes the decisions, because it's cross-functional, right? So demystify the decision-making process. Always explain why this decision is taken, rather than it's come from the top. It's the MD's directive. It is the product head's directive. It's the HOD's rule, HOD's law. No, explain why, right? And then that gives empowerment actually for the rest of the team. Thereafter, it was actually showing recognition, reward for the people, the unsung heroes in product development. And finally, keep a lessons learned compendium. Always be learning. So, have a bunch of lessons learned. So every new product we create, we used to track it through the lessons learned and put checklist. Okay, we should not repeat the same mistakes, whether it is in innovation, whether it is in operationalizing, whether it is in technology errors, which came later, right? Or audit observations, which happened years after the product was launched. So to make sure that we don't repeat those mistakes again. So those were the success mantras of a CFT. And finally, there was always a view, is this better or that better? And we only had, in fact, the regulator had put a quota of how many products you can give us for approval. So now we had a quota system. We said, oh God. So we have to select which product will go. And everyone said, no, this is better. This idea is better, Vishy. That is better. So I said, okay, how do we create hybrid products and try it out? A/B testing. Let's test what works. We don't know. No one knows. And whatever works, sure. In the next version, we'll create that product and let this version die out. So we did that. The fail fast techniques were used before scaling up product launches, because the effort, it's not the cost of just putting the product on your tech platform, but the cost of training, the cost of your agents and brokers have only so much mindshare for you. If you occupy that mindshare with a lemon product, there goes your business.
Correct,
so
correct.
so that was those were some of the learnings from my product management stint.
I think that's very, very powerful, Vishy. And I think the insight I got from that is typically a lot of these things tend to be top down driven. It's somebody is product manager, he's responsible, so you don't really care about where he gets the idea from, where he tests it out, and all of that. And so two things very importantly. One is sources of ideation. Listen widely, and then those seven success mantras of a CFT. It's a teamwork, and there's so much of focus on clarifying the why and how of it, that you are actually reducing the chances of error, right? And I think I really liked that in startups, A/B testing is very widely used. A/B testing and fail fast is very widely used, and you used it in insurance products. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So let me do one thing. Let me bring in some comments. Let me bring in the first one. So this is Piyush Agrawal saying, "Wow, this is so good. It gives me goosebumps." And I think this comment came right after the previous question, which was how do you build the technology function, or how do you work with the technology guys and all. And then. So there's some questions which I want to take up later, Vishy. So let's go a little fast on the next question, which is there's another one. Let me, unless people think that I'm partial to Piyush, Vishal. I mean, no, so they. Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for your appreciation. It really matters a lot. So, Vishy, let's make this a quick one. Maybe share your top three insights, takeaways, or what about building this e-commerce model, changing the paradigm of insurance, that it is sold and not bought, to 26% of the customers buying it. So, what are those top three things that you would say you did, or what our audience can take away from, especially again in the same there's a lot, most of the industries are into that model, right? And then with e-commerce you can change it. So what would be your advice to them, and just share your experience on that.
Sure. Top three. Okay, let me distill it. First one is the mindset barrier of channel conflict. There's always belief that your brick and mortar, it happens in retail as well, brick and mortar versus e-com. What works, and will one cannibalize the other? Will agents start to complain to us saying that, oh my God, people are buying online the same product. Why will they call me, and why will I be able to get an appointment? They're able to buy easier from you, sometimes cheaper online. So then they ask me for commission rebate, all of that. So the channel conflict, and I think much of that is mindset. So the first thing we did to begin the scale up of our e-commerce journey is have same pricing. Okay, same pricing, and we'll live with the outcomes. In some products you make profit, some products you make loss, but be the same face as far as the customer is concerned. Don't do differential pricing. Number one, unless you have a segmented product only targeted by a customer, and your offline channels does not want to touch them, sure, no problem, untapped segment. Second was CFO dilemma. There is a belief that digital is cheap at the boardroom. Okay, but the CFO and the CMO know that it is not so. It is the same cost. It is the same cost. In the initial years, perhaps more than offline. So, how do you begin the aspect of cross-selling quickly before somebody knocks you on the head and saying, where the hell is my money? Right? So, cross-selling, upselling, look at the new customer profile. For example, in life insurance, we found that the age of the customer was younger by 8 years and the income was double. Okay, the income tax returns of the customers who bought online versus offline were double. So younger and wealthier customers, great profile. CFO loves such customers. And then you talk about the de-risking and the concentration risk, because now you're having an e-commerce channel. Tomorrow a pandemic happens. Or tomorrow if your bank goes away. Tomorrow if your agency or like in the east, in the far east happens, en masse moves to another company because the leader is gone. Anything can happen. So becomes a good de-risking. So talk the language of the CFO and help the CFO navigate these dilemmas before e-commerce success can find your way. And lastly, what I would call the Goldilocks syndrome. The people in the team, initially when we began the team, we said, take your own premises. Don't come near corporate office. Get your own ponytails. Come to work in jeans. No suits, no ties, right? Only t-shirts, and anyone with a collared t-shirt will be banned. So we tried all that and tried to create this ecosystem. But then I realized it becomes too far, and then they go away into their own planet. We don't want people to go to Mars. We want to solve the problems of Earth. Right? So I think like in Goldilocks, not too close, not too far. You should just get it right. When you get
Yeah,
it right,
yeah.
just right with people and the interlocks they have with the business, success will emerge in ecom.
No, awesome, awesome. I think no, this is a very, very big one. The first one that you mentioned, Vishy, the mindset barrier of channel conflict. I see it everywhere, and yeah, the first one is to come out of it and also like make it more participative. So I remember when in Tata Motors for spare parts we were trying it. What going e-commerce meant was that these partners had to sign a contract with the payment gateway, and thousands of them had to sign it, right? A tripartite contract between Tata Motors and this, and we were like, guys, is this important to you? Are you willing to take that big step? And of course, a lot of other things that you mentioned, pricing parity. It should not be channel conflict. Primarily comes out of pricing conflict, right? You are able to find a better price somewhere else. And no, I think very, very important ones. In fact, I was talking to somebody else who did the e-commerce for one of the consumer brands, and he had the same mantra that this pricing parity and making sure that there's no channel conflict from a pricing and fulfillment point of view.
Right.
So yeah, I think let's come to the last most important question, which is the talent, right? So I think in a new age company like Max Life, having that old age, that GE and Tata type of principle of building in-house talent, it was very refreshing, Vishy, when you mentioned it. So and a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of leaders here would really like to get your insights on how do you go on that path, because it's always easier to hire talent from outside, and it's always much harder to to build your own talent base. And we all know that the second one is more sustainable, more long lasting, and all of that. So just share how you guys went about it, especially being a startup.
So let me share with you two things. One is I worked in complex businesses. Complex because there are multiple stakeholders. Complex because the life cycle of the product is long. In life insurance, is on an average 20 years. In real estate, on an average, it is 7 years. So the life cycle itself is rather long. The one who sold the product is different from the one who's fulfilling. So, well, the customer is traversing this journey over a period. So, in a complex business, I found that, at least this is my take, that whenever you get outsiders, the business appears complicated. Actually, they complicate the business. Though the business might be complex, you don't have to complicate it. I find when you talk to insiders in the business who've been around for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, they make the business very simple in how they communicate, how they have understood it, right? So, okay. So then why are we, every time there's a vacancy in the senior leadership team, why are we hiring people from outside? Why are we parachuting people? Why can't we promote people from within. The problem to solve was only 40% of our senior leadership team in my erstwhile company were in-house promotees. 60% were parachuters inside. And if many parachuters come in, then what happens is the business gets complicated. It's almost like the parable of blind men and the elephant. Remember the story? So life insurance is like that. Unless you come, you'll think it's a trunk, you'll think it's a pillar, you'll think it's a brush, you'll think it's a wall, but actually it's an elephant, right? So you'll get to see it only if you do these role rotations. And that's important in any complex business. Now, what was done to me, I was keen on doing to others because role rotation is very important. So I guess the first one was to identify those best bets. Who are the best bets? So we did a simple 2x2 matrix of performance and potential. Performance, one understands it's all outcomes, results. Potential is always tricky. It's very subjective. So we said we will evaluate people against the core values of the company. So against the core values of the company, you give a scale of 1 to 5, and we got the EC, the management team to actually executive team to actually rate those potential best bets, and then we put them on this 2x2 matrix. Look at the top quartile, and there what we did was again a belief that I've had in life is that if you don't, people development is so fuzzy. If you don't quantify it, you will not make any progress. You can only manage what you can measure. How do you measure talent development? So we said, okay, like we do everything in sales, let's measure this also. Let's create a talent scorecard. We called it TSC. And this talent scorecard had 5-6 components. 10% given first. If you tell that best bet that you are a talented employee and this is what we feel about you, and we handshake and you sign up. Okay. Second, 20% weight given to an individual development plan being created and accepted along with HR oversight, the management development program, MDP team oversight. Third was another 20% weight given for inputs to be done. Oh, you have to go for an ISB program. You have to go for a IIM Calcutta 6-month course. You have to do part-time MBA. You have to do an action learning project, whatever it might be, inputs. Another 20% given for intermediate outcomes, the outcome of that input specifically. And remaining, I think we had about 30 odd percent, which was final voting by the EC, the CEO and the DRs of the CEO rate. Has the needle moved on those critical development areas of each individual best bet? So we spend hours discussing and debating that, and then you get a score on 100. And we put this weight on not the individual, but the individual supervisor. So we put the weight on the line manager, not on the HR also, so that the line manager can drive the of his or her team. What happened outcome? The agency head of that company became the direct sales force head. Agents always hate direct sales force, right? And direct sales force hates agency because they say, we are employees, we don't get any commission, we'll do the right sale, and so on. And then finally, the same person became also the banker. So moving from agents to individuals to banks. Group B2B head became the agency B2C head and survived the antibody attack that you'll get from your new direct reports, your incumbent team. And guess what? In those 24 years in the company, very happy to observe that in the last 16 years, the MD and CEO have been internal talent, right? And that's the proof of the pudding, right? Is the board also living up to that standard? So I guess it's just a virtuous upward cycle.
No, that's very. I think again the first one was the most powerful, which is that the insiders are comfortable and they simplify the business, and the outsiders complicate the business. The other thing I want to just add there is that when outsiders come in, when they come in from different places, they know what they have seen before, and everyone is trying to replicate what they did here, and suddenly you have a khichdi, you have a mix. So I think the why of it is very, very strong, as you mentioned, right? And role rotations are important. Otherwise, you have 5 blind people, each looking at the company in their own perspective. And when you rotate them, they start to see the entire elephant. So that was my other takeaway from this. The next one was very importantly, potential is against the values of the company, and develop a talent scorecard against 5 different parameters. And I think the most interesting one, and which is how I have lived my professional career, is that my people are my responsibility. They're not HR's responsibility, right? So you make the manager accountable for the talent scorecard and not HR. HR is there to support you, but you own your people. No, that really resonated, Vishy. I mean, I used to have one of the lowest, attrition rates. It's just because, like, what you own, why wouldn't they own you back, right? And I think the last but not the least, my takeaway is like, I would kind of paraphrase it. You said it in a different way with examples, but I would paraphrase it that, there are people who seem to be at whose functions seem to be at conflict, actually who seem to be at conflict with each other because of their functions, right? But the moment you kind of like rotate them, you suddenly start seeing like a better empathy, for each other. In fact, one of my bosses did it. So service and spares are always at conflict, right, in automotive, and he basically exchanged the roles. So he gave the spares guy the service role and service guy the spares role, and now suddenly he's like, oh, now I understand you.
True.
So Vishim, I mean, I hope you don't mind going a little longer. I mean, these sessions sometimes we can't control the timing just because of the this thing, and I'm aware of some questions coming in as well. So I do want to spend some time on that. But Vishim, maybe a bit of rapid fire because I'm being greedy here. I won't get you on ClariTea Chat a lot of times, so so let me ask this. So what you left behind at Max is still thriving without you, right? So maybe what are your top three principles to ensure that as a leader, what you build lasts and thrives beyond you?
Well, I think first is a credo that was ingrained in our minds when we were very young in that company by our JV partners. Dream big dreams; they have a funny way of coming true. Dream big dreams; they have a funny way of coming true. That company, Axis Max Life now, has no reason to be where it is. uh, the ones above are public sectors or owned by large financial institutions and banks or big industrial houses. This is neither a financial institution or a bank with a legacy or a industrial powerhouse. But the way it came up, just by dreaming big. So I think taking that big risks is very important. Second is obsessive attention to detail. This is a term that I learned from Robin Sharma, the management guru. Inspect what you expect, right? He calls it OAD, obsessive attention to detail, which is, he says, it's one of the top 5 CEO qualities of today. Okay, so it's not that when AI comes in and when technology comes in, you become more strategic and go 50,000 feet up. No, that is required, that is mandatory, but you have to be also 5 inches high, see at close quarters and know what is happening. uh, so that I think is a legacy which is still continuing, and I think that execution power comes from this inspecting what you expect. And lastly, caring for people. Not many companies would have the gumption, I would say, to put caring as your value. This company did at a very young age. And that's why it's still outstanding. That's why even your tennis partner mentioned to you that there's nothing like Max Life,
I
right?
agree. I agree.
It's not that you are easy on tasks, but you're high up on relationships. So, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. This was again ingrained into us by New York Life, right? So we used to show our caring at any point in time, good times, bad times, and of course, then you will get tasked as well. But first, we care for you as an individual, as a human. So I think these. So even now, after leaving the company, every day in my morning calendar, in my personal Outlook, I'm just sending birthday messages, anniversary messages, and even service anniversary messages for people who joined in my erstwhile company, and I get the
Awesome.
same. So I guess that personal rapport and relationships so important that is often undervalued.
No, I think some really gems of wisdom out there. So Vishy, I'm going to definitely cut a few reels out of this conversation. No, really great. So Vishy, let's take some questions. So there's one question from Amarinder that we can take, which is relevant. So he says that technology has taken center stage from business to governance and politics and even saving humanity. I think he's referring to that $500 billion announcement by Trump, saving be COVID or sustainability or living beyond Earth someday. So what is next when it comes to our relationship with technology, especially with AI agents and more? So while AI is democratizing technology like WhatsApp, productivity and the world is moving more towards DIY. However, the gap between the privileged and underprivileged seem to be only increasing. How do we? Okay, so I can't read the full question here. Okay, so maybe like, your first cut thoughts. What comes to you without really answering the question on this comment?
So I must share with you. Usually, history has a way of repeating itself, right? We always believe that the next disruption is going to nuke us. It's not so.
Yeah.
When I don't know, Jagdish, maybe I'm 3 years older to you in career starting, but when I began, there was no mobile phones, right? We still survived. Guess what? There were no computers. My first job was to sell those. So there were no emails that didn't exist. The World Wide Web did not exist. So when computers started to come, people thought, "Oh my God, there goes my job." Okay, mass retrenchment is going to happen. And guess what happened? Who lost their job? What happened? Right? We just started, instead of handling 5 letters a day, we are handling now 150 emails a day. That's what's happened. Productivity has gone up, right? So nobody's lost their jobs, and more jobs have come in the tech sector. So when I see AI coming in now, and initial I see it when implementation is on underway, even in my current company, there is some passive resistance sometimes, and I know that is coming from, okay, will my team get shrunk? Will I have a job? Will AI replace me? Now, it will not. It will not, provided you are able to upskill, right? So I guess adopting the technology and being part of that, being a surf rider on technology is so important, rather than sitting in your own boat and waiting for it to be capsized by the next wave. I think that's really the way I would see technology. I know it's a little theoretical, this answer, but that's what I've experienced.
No, I think this is very interesting. I mean, I like those one-liners. Be a surf rider on technology instead of allowing your boat to sink. Okay, so guys, we come finally to our last and final section, which is the rapid fire. So Vishy, let's try to finish in the next 5 minutes. So really rapid fire, one sentence, two sentence answers. Um, yeah, one hobby outside of the work that many people might not know.
Okay, one hobby would be painting.
Wow. Oh, so we didn't know so I'm sure a lot of people don't know the creative side of Vishy. Okay, so hey, everyone in the audience, if you want to fire any rapid fires at Vishy, please send them across. One book you will recommend to people.
Ah, uh, the Bible of the First 90 Days by Michael Watkins. People who worked with me for the last 15 years will know that's the first book I gift when they come into the team. To
Okay.
manage role changes in the company or another company or sector. Excellent Bible. The First 90 Days by Michael Watkins.
Okay, so the book name is the first 90 days.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I wish somebody would have gifted me when I was changing my only job.
You should write one.
Okay, so Vishy, as you grew, I'm sure there are things that you had to stop doing as well, right? So the question here is that three things that you have to stop doing to make space for your own growth.
Yeah, stop doing. First is don't overstay in your comfort zone. Right? The biggest risk is not taking that risk.
Yeah.
Second, I would say is stop shining the light on yourself, and especially as you go higher and higher. Third is stop hoarding knowledge and power. I heard this in a meeting. I had the privilege of meeting His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and he shared these words: "Be selfish by being generous." Be selfish by being generous. The
Awesome.
more you give, you'll be surprised, the more you'll get. So stop hoarding knowledge and power.
Awesome. Awesome. I think those are real gems. Yeah. Any advice to the next generation leaders?
Well, I would say two things. I seek more advice from them, but uh, two things would be obsessive attention to detail. Go deep, go deep. Um, don't, as they say, not trust but verify. Go deeper and understand. Especially move away from the what. I see people idealizing great success stories. You have a favorite role model, but it's all the what. Go into the how and the why. There can be lots of learnings there. As someone told me, life is about three things. You need inspiration, the what, but you need perspiration, which is the how, and you need luck as well, IPL. So life is all about these three things. And if you don't understand how this works, you won't know how your role model became what they became, and how many other, for every role model there were 99 failures, by the way, or more.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you will get to
Absolutely.
know, and be able to learn from those lessons of those failures as well.
Awesome. Awesome. So maybe a touchy subject. What was your worst professional moment, and how did you overcome that?
The worst professional moment was when our company was firing 4,000 employees. Okay, and it had to be done in 3 months flat. There was a big regulatory change in the sector. Thousands of people had to be retrenched, and I had to retrench 800 of them. So from there, because we just grew so big, and the bubble burst, and suddenly music stopped, and we had to do this. So big lesson learned for me is never overhire, uh, never expand beyond your limits, and when you are expanding in great times, always think about when the bubble will burst, and when the bubble bursts, how right fitted are you? Don't over capacitize yourself. It is very very painful to retrench people.
Yeah, I mean, especially after talking to you for 1 hour, I can really feel it, like how you would have felt. Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So let me see if there are any rapid fires. Uh, okay. So there is like some resonance here. I was actually trying to copy this. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Yeah. This is definitely a big takeaway. Yeah, so so yeah, Vishy, I've been putting you on the block, for so long. So I always give my guests an opportunity to take a small revenge on me by asking me a reverse question. So over to you for your revenge question.
Very good. Now, this might sound a little selfish, but so tell me, from your experience, you had 133 uh, chats with various people, successful people, various phases in life. What do you think, in your opinion, are the top two, three attributes of successful board of directors in global companies?
Okay. Yeah, so Vishy, I'm myself an independent director. I'm part of Critical Eye, which basically is a lot of board directors and all of that, and we do have some networking sessions and all. So what I've seen is, one is that they are well read, right, and they are they are able to, whatever they are collecting, they're able to synthesize it, and they are able to convert that into some insights, right. The second one is that it's not only about reading, it's also about generate, because I think we know as leaders that a lot of important things, the most important things are never written anywhere, right. They are in people's minds, and they don't talk about it. Like, for example, I mean, if you look at about what's going to happen in the stock market, I mean, you can read as much as you want, but you talk to a couple of brokers, okay, and they will, the kind of insights they will give you, you'll never find them anywhere. So I think they rely not only on reading, but also on connecting and getting insights from people's brains. And I think third one, I see a question inherent there. It is also how to transition from let's say, corporate role to an entrepreneur or a board role and all. I think one thing that happens is that in these board roles and all, unless you're taking an executive director role, I'm assuming it's independent director and all that. You have to really kind of unlearn a few things about being an executioner, then being like you can say a conscience keeper, and like more like an advisor. And sometimes you have to be a little tough on that as well. So it's not always being the yes man. And therefore what really matters is to learn a completely new side of things, which is, I would say, like the black and white of compliances. So my biggest learning into this role has been like to go through those 60, 70 hours of content on the independent directors portal, getting certified. And I mean, I think I never got myself educated on regulations as much as I did for that. So you have to be so you have to understand the black and white of like how a boardroom has to work, right? And that really gives you that authenticity and credibility to be there. Otherwise, as executives, we can bring in a lot of new ideas, which we do otherwise also. But I think that the foundation of being a board member is into knowing exactly what and how things have to be done, right? Okay, so on that note, Vishy, let me move towards summarizing su- summarizing our chat today. I think we started with the fun fact, which is about like experimenting with the Google's reverse interview process, and then innovating on top of that is to like put a candidate in a dance floor situation. That was really funny, and I must say that shows the naughty side of you, Vishy. Um, I think then yeah. So some takeaways from like your career transitions. So it's like once you get into the comfort zone, that makes you uncomfortable, and I think that's a takeaway for everybody. Get uncomfortable the moment you get into a comfort zone. Then I think you did raise your hand a lot of times. The door was knocked, and you ended up opening the door. Whether it's like agents getting salaries, or whether it's bank assurance, or it is the developing the customer loyalty and persistence, or whether it's product management or IT or IT and operations. It's like your discomfort with the function that actually got you the leader of the function. Then I think then we talked about the role of as a business leader. How do you manage the relationship with the technology guys, like your CIO? And I think I really like the fact that you understand, and not many business leaders do that. IT people are hardworking. When people are sleeping, they are kind of doing those migrations and a lot of that stuff. But I think there is lesser focus on their interpersonal relationships, making them network with the business guys and all of that. So create formal and informal networks. You talked about the CIO interfaces with CFO, CMO, and CEO to drive three different agendas and balance them. And again, like balance and focus on three different things, which is customer experience, employee experience, and shareholders interest. And your personal experience when you were a CEO and managing technology was about realizing the need for speed and moving from waterfall to agile, and not limiting yourself to like just training on agile, but it's changing the office seating to agile seating, getting the management team to participate in those hurdles and sprints and all of that. uh, and again, like changing the paradigm of e-commerce is sold, not bought, to 26% of insurance is bought, right? Then we talked about insurance product success, very dismal success rates, but I think you really explained the problem very well. It's not only about the product; it's about all the efforts that go in taking the product to market, the training, the documentation, filings, and all of that. And then it really hits you that 80% of that effort is getting wasted, and then making it like a broad based thing, right from the ideation broad basing the ideation to broad basing the product development process in terms of project management principles and all of that, the CFT principles, and bringing that software, the startup mindset, which is A/B testing and fail fast to the insurance product management. And then we talked about, like, in an age-old 200-year-old sector, bringing e-commerce transformation, and what are the takeaways for our CXOs here. So I think the first and the biggest one was the mindset barrier of channel conflict. Both can coexist, and you have to get rid of that mindset. But I think the channel conflict, the biggest reason for channel conflict is the pricing disparities, and I think that is the first thing that you need to fix. You also have to work with the CFO for the CFO dilemma, which is digital is, it's not cheap actually. It can be expensive initially, but then showing the value adds of, like, getting the information out of it. Like, for example, you talked about how the e-commerce customer profiles are very different from the channel customer profiles, right? Yeah, and also how it creates de-risking opportunities for you. I think these are the three different languages that CFOs understand. And but then also you had, like, one suggestion that, like, get it right, like the Goldilocks syndrome, okay, and don't overdo or don't exert it too much. And I think last but not the least, we talked about the internal talent. I think very, very powerful conversation about, uh, and the biggest one in terms of the why should you do it is, like, that the insiders who have spent time in the company, they don't find the business complex. The moment you bring in somebody from outside, they find it complex, and they actually complicate the conversations and the problems more than what it actually is. Then, I think every organization and every function, every problem that you're solving has, like, five blind persons, and it's the best way to actually convert five blind persons into two white human beings is to rotate their roles and let them empathize with each other in the process. You talked about the performance potential metrics, and very importantly, the potential is measured against the values of the company. Quantify the talent development, like we do everything in the business. We have KPIs, so develop a talent scorecard, give different weightages. And I think the biggest takeaway for me there was give the accountability to line managers. It really resonates with me, as I said, because I always took ownership of the people. And we another way to put it is that, like, so people who are at conflict with each other, rotate their roles with each other, and then suddenly they seem to understand the complexities of the other person. And then, well, I think we had another one, which was like, how do you ensure that what you build lasts and it thrives beyond you? So three things: credo, dream big dreams. Big dreams have a funny way of coming true. Obsessive attention to detail, inspect what you expect, execution excellence, and caring for people. And yeah, I think that's about it. And uh, so very, very powerful. I know we are way above time, Vishy, but as I said, if I am to get you once on ClariTea Chat, then I better, like, extract the maximum value out of it for our folks. It has been a wonderful conversation, Vishy, and I mean, I personally learned quite a lot from this conversation. And one thing, that lots of people ask me, like, how are you going strong at 133? Is because I'm the biggest beneficiary, because I mean, I have learned from 133
Well done.
sessions. So thank you so much, Vishy, and guys, everyone who has been watching this session patiently. My apologies for going long, but I hope we have not bored you for those extra 25 minutes. Definitely not for me. I was, like, I was sucking value out of the conversation every minute. And I know that many of you actually watched the recording. So everyone who's watching the recording, thanks to you too. And to everyone who's on the show here, have a good weekend and please enjoy your family time. And thank you, Vishy, for joining me on ClariTea Chat today.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jagdish. Thank
Yeah.
you all.